guess what? You are now plugged into the Power Surge. Now tuned into the Future Shock, Future Shock, Future Shock. Hot takes we debate is the Future Shock, Future Shock, Future Shock. IWC, it's the Future Shock, Future Shock, Future Shock. Get your news here first, it's the Future Shock, Future Shock, Future Shock.
This is referee Dan Fitzgerald, and you are now watching the Future Shock Wrestling Podcast. Get plugged into the Power Surge.
This is Nasty Leeway, aka That Man, aka That Nasty Man. And you are tuned in to the Future Shock Podcast. And you're plugged in to the Power Surge. Now, listen to this podcast and don't be a rat bastard.
This is your boy, the Cardinal Nick Thompson, the current IWA Explosive Division Champion, and you are now watching the Future Shock Wrestling Podcast, and you are now plugged in to the Power Surge. Tweet!
What's going on, everybody? It's your friend and neighborhood wrestling content creator and digital media champion, B.J. Dixon. I'm here to talk to you guys about our sponsor, Popmania. Popmania is a website created by our good friend and brother, Cam Lewis, who created this game, and he has a ton of different options for your game playing pleasure. He has Pick'em, where you can do predictions. He also has Higher or Lower, which suggests that whichever wrestler that you pick, whether they're higher or lower, will depend on the one that you're picking. And then, like, you will have if your streak continues, you will be on the leaderboard. You also have trivia games from Popmania as well. You also have a versus draft. You have a pick your GOAT. You have what's called Ring the Bell. Ring the Bell is the game where you essentially play with your friends and you pick different wrestlers and you see which ones are better when it comes to your picks. And then whoever has the better picks wins. You also have another game that is called Build Your GOAT. Who do you think has the intangibles to be the greatest of all time? We'll find out in Build Your GOAT. You also have your shows and you have your leaderboard. If you guys are on the leaderboard, that means you've scored the highest. So I want to thank Popmania for sponsoring this podcast. And you guys can use my code, PowerSurge77, for all your game playing pleasures. Play on, everybody.
Welcome to the Future Shock. This is the Indie Spotlight, highlighting the best in independent wrestling.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your neighborhood wrestling content creator and digital media champion, B.J. Dixon. You're welcome. And you are now tuned in to Future Shock Wrestling Podcast, and you have walked into the Indie Spotlight. I want to give a quick introduction of our guest here in just a moment. And I just want to tell you guys a few things about him, and then we're going to get into our segment for today, guys. So, our guest today is a passionate wrestling fan, content creator, and leader who has quickly made his mark in the wrestling media space. Hailing from Long Island, New York, Eric Knight launched the Exclusive Nights podcast on August the 1st, 2024, creating a platform where wrestling fans can engage in meaningful conversations about the sport they love. As a member of the Legacy Maker Sports Media, as a member of the Legacy Makers Sports Network, Eric continues to grow his voice in the wrestling media space, where while as a member of the Legacy Makers Sports Network, Eric continues to grow his voice in the wrestling media space while staying grounded in his faith in Jesus Christ. Whether it's discussing the innovative style of the Young Bucks, the athleticism of Ricochet, the charisma of Trick Williams, which he calls Mr. Trick and A and all the different stuff, and the star power of Kalani Jordan, which is his girl Lonnie, uh, or the presence of Swerve Strickland, because whose house? Swerve's house. Eric's passion for wrestling shines through every conversation. Beyond wrestling, Eric's lover of music, the New York Knicks, and I believe also he's a fan of baseball as well. He also loves black films and culture. He is known for his leadership qualities and brings he's known for his leadership qualities and the things that he brings on and off the microphone with every competition he's been around and been in. That he's just a great individual and a great leader. I want to present to some and introduce to others my brother in the podcasting world, Mr. Eric Knight. Thank you for coming on to the Indie Spotlight, my good brother.
Hey man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. That touched me, bro. Pause. That was, but yeah, no, hey man, I appreciate that. That was that was powerful. I love that. How you, man? You good?
I'm great, brother. I'm great. So, my first question for you, my good sir. For those who may not know you or just hearing your story for the first time, who is Eric Knight?
Man, it's crazy. Eric Knight, man. The name even came about, I think. When I first came up with the name, I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I was playing WWE 2K15, and I remember I was looking. I said, "Nah, I don't want to go with just my name." I said, "What's a name that gives off something that's strong, something that gives off some kind of like a fight in them or something?" I said, "I like Eric Knight," and ever since then, I went from that. And I'll never forget me and one of my co-hosts, Mr. Exclusive. We went to WrestleMania 34, and just the name. And he was like, he said, "Yo, if you got a wrestling, what is your wrestling?" I said, it's Eric Knight." I said, it just, something about it comes off smooth, something quick. And I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I love the name and I stuck with it. But who Eric Knight is a person, somebody that's passionate, somebody that's gonna be, if I can do everything, I'm gonna give you the truth. I'm gonna give you facts, and if I didn't know, I'm gonna find out and make sure I do got the right facts for you. And like just somebody that, just like you said, I got the passion. I have, a lot of those things I think about myself, but I feel like it's just things that grew over time. You know what I'm saying? Just from whether it was just, from like growing up, my grandmother, she grew up, watching like Nat King Cole, and but these were people that she would see, that she seen come up in times, when she was young. So people like Nat King Cole, Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, even watching Denzel coming up at his time and his age too, right? All of those things, seeing how groundbreaking those. And at first, when I was a kid, I didn't really know. I was like, why does my grandmother? She loved Sidney Poitier. Every time Sidney, she said, "There you go, that's Sidney." I said, "Grandma, what you?" But I had watched the documentary about like 6 months ago, and just watching the story of what he went through, as a kid, coming from the Caribbean and then, moving to Florida. I watched, even as a kid, he was talking about how, he had an encounter with the KKK one time as a kid, and it moved him and pushed him to go to New York and try to find it and make a way for himself, and seeing what he did on Broadway, seeing what he did in acting, and then, him being, the very first, the Black Oscar winner, and then to the point to where he started making his own movies and create his own production. So things like that, it was inspiring to watch. And when I see stuff like that, when I see how groundbreaking that is, I'm like, yeah, that's something I know I can do myself. But sometimes, when you do it, you can't rush it. It takes time and a lot of those processes within that. So I'm in the middle of that process. I feel like starting off, that was something I had to learn, especially going in. Because, we always think, hey, I can do this. This ain't going to be no problem. Well, guess what? Some of those things happen. But, yeah, it's something that I think growing up, my mom instilling me as well, also the importance of Black history, showing me these people that have done things, groundbreaking things. And, some of the Black history, some people don't even know about, my mom would show me and teach me. And, instill that in me. So, that, the word, and by the word, I'm talking about the Bible. And the Bible is a book that you can learn some stuff from. Sometimes it might not be right when you want it, but it can be it. When you go down the road and you be like, oh, shoot, that was for me at that time. It's a lot of those things, I feel like, within the name Eric Knight. I mean, I can even say just my name, Eric Hurd, but the name Eric Knight, I feel like when I'm coming out there, I'm coming out armored. You know what I'm saying? I got an armor on. And I feel like that armor that I put on every day when I go up on these panels, when I do the show, I feel like it shows. But, I mean, if anything, this is everything that I've went through, everything that I have seen, that I've learned. It is all a God-made thing. And I feel like that's another reason why I say that in my show. First things first, God did this, don't get mad with us. Because it is something that God, instilled in me. And he instilled a lot of things in everybody. But I was able to find the thing that God put in me and make it something that he made a purpose for me. So that's really, that's what I can say where that name really comes from.
Wow. Okay. See what I love about the Indie Spotlight is we get to hear testimonies, guys. This ain't just me coming up here giving people the opportunity to tell a random story. People have to have some sort of a testimony when they come up on here. And Eric has a great story. And he just told us a great one. I mean, to have that armor, like what? Okay, when you say your armor, man, when you describe, what would you describe your knight's armor to look like? I know you obviously talk about the scriptures and everything else, but what do they look? What do you look? What does it look like for you as Eric to put on your knight armor each and every day?
Truth is gonna be that first one. If I got armor, there's got to be truth part of that armor. You know what I'm saying? When there's got to be, you got to have passion on. Like my armor is truth. There's passion. There's humor, right? There's a sense of discernment. There is a purpose. Those things I feel like are in my armor. Like those things I feel like I carry with me, and it's so important. The mental toughness, and that is, and the reason why I say mental toughness, that's the first thing, because I don't know if you had any more questions about the podcast, because I can dive right into really the story of the start of my podcast. And
you're getting ahead of me, but yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay,
just a little bit.
So
yeah.
Yeah, so I say the mental. I'll wait. But I'll say the mental toughness, because there is a time and point when you start doing this podcast stuff, man, and when you start, you try to find yourself. Sometimes you be like, you'll look at the numbers, but man, they ain't going nowhere. Ain't nothing happening. I don't feel like nothing's going nowhere. But you gotta keep pushing yourself to keep going. You gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep pressing on. And the reason why is because if you believe in what you do, if you believe in what you're doing, if you see a vision for what you got to keep going. And there was times when I wanted to stop. There was times I'm like, man, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And I just said to myself, nah, bro, if I stop, it all stops. If I stop, it all stops. Not to say nobody in my team wouldn't do nothing, but, it's like they look at me to lead. If I stop, who's going to take charge? So it's one of those things where it's like, it's the mental toughness. You got to carry with you. And you got to, and honestly, that mental toughness too is for the idiots out there. It's a lot of them that's out there too. You got to have the mental toughness for the idiots, because they're going to try to say and say whatever. but you gotta have it within your mind to know, like, nah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna let nobody stop from what I got, because God gave me this. And yeah,
Absolutely. So let's get into a little bit of your upbringing here. So you grew up in Long Island, New York. So tell me about your experience growing up in Long Island, and then along the way, how did professional wrestling find you, or how did you find professional wrestling?
yeah, man, shoot. So I grew up in Long Island, specifically Amityville, North Amityville. Man, I love that town. But I went to when I was in high school, I went to Copake High School, right? So I went to Copake, but growing up, man, like, you know, I my grandmother, I think I was kind of telling a little bit about like my mom, my grandmother, but I started watching wrestling at 4 years old. So I grew up kind of in that attitude era. My mom was watching it with me, which is crazy thinking about it. She still watches to this day. What's up, Mother Night? And you know, I would watch it. I was watching it as a young kid, and I remember, like, man, like my little sister was watching it, and we would watch it as, you know, as kids. And I remember once I hit around like 7, 8 years old. That was around that ruthless aggression era. I feel like that's when I was really kind of paying attention. And I was really kind of glued to the screen watching it. I had a good friend I grew up with. I had a couple of friends. It's kind of crazy because growing up, even in school, I had a few friends that would watch wrestling. That wrestling, like my friend, one of my friends, Darren. We watched wrestling all the time. We talk about Stone Cold and The Rock. My friend Mike Ham, which is an incredible artist right now. Same thing. And actually, when my other friend Alex, which I am still mad at you to this day for this, sir, but I'll never forget this, man. And again, I was a kid, bro. So I remember 10 years old, went to my friend Alex's house. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you be a kid, bro. So I don't know, bro. So they, at the Sunrise Mall, which is not even a thing anymore, that mall RIP like 4 years ago. They had John Cena and Trish Stratus at the mall, and my mom,
Really?
and my friend's mom said, "Hey, you want to go?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Did you call your mom and let her know?" I said, "Yeah," knowing I did it. So I already made this a problem off rip, right? Went to the mall, met John Cena. This was the Dr. Thugonomics. He didn't even have the U.S. title or nothing yet, and that same John Cena is the same John Cena that he is now. Like, and I never go. When I got home, I got back to my friend Alex's house. Oh, my mom was pissed. Where were you? I said, I'm sitting high. I just seen John Cena. I met him. Now, at the same time, I think my mother was upset that I didn't call her. But I think at the same time, she was upset she didn't get to see him, too. I think that was a thing, too. I think that was also a thing. But, you know, hey, kids, I tell you, hey, look, if you got an opportunity to tell your parents, just tell them. And I know for a fact, and my mom told me, she said, even if you would have called, I would have said yes. I was like, man, and, you know, but, you know, these are things you learn as a kid, so who knows, right? So I stayed watching for a long time. But in school, like, you know, in school, you know, it's crazy. I was actually, you know, people are like, oh, I got bullied. I wasn't. I never got bullied. I was like, you know, like growing up, like in middle school, I kind of, you know, like people tell me I was kind of funny in middle school, right? But in like once I got to high school, I kind of found out. I was like, oh no, man, I actually am kind of funny. Like people, so Jesus, I mean, I ain't got these videos no more, but I used to like when Kevin Hart, when he was doing like the chocolate dropper thing, like I used to mimic that, and I called myself Gummy Bear, did a whole character, and I used to
Gummy
rap and all
Bear?
that. Yeah, bro, it's crazy. It's wild. I don't have the videos no more. But I used to do I used to rap, do all that stuff. Like bro, I used to take that joint to the next level. And then within that same time frame, like within that same year, my little sister had passed away. Right, so you know, it was something that happened like the day after Thanksgiving, but
Wow.
when that happened, you know, it was kind of like I seen a lot of people in my school like step up and say, "Hey, we're here for you. You know, we right there for you." I'll never forget, even like my sister's wake when that happened. It was so many people from my school that came, like people from my neighborhood that really came to show that love. And that really shown like, yo, I think my neighborhood got me on this. And then I did stand up one year. I did stand up at my school for the talent show. Did that once. And then like, you know, after, you know, and I was, you know, again, I was really cool with everybody, always laughed, always joked. But then after that, you know, during that time, like I had stopped kind of watching wrestling around like 2012 to 2014. And, you know, I wasn't into it at that point. I think because I was out. I was just, you know, you a teenager, you just doing whatever sometimes. Within that time frame, I did get back into it when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, right? In the midst of that, after I graduated, you know, found out that when my grandmother had passed away about a year before that, right? Because it was, and I'll say this, man, like when they say it comes in threes, during that time when I was doing all that stuff in school, my sister passed in 2011. And these are all people that lived in the house with me, right? Then my uncle passed in 2012. Then my grandmother passed in 2013. So the house that seemed so full became empty. You know what I'm saying? And within that time, after I graduated high school, right, come to find out that my mother's uncle, when he was, you know, in charge of, trying to help out and do the bills, come to find out he was stealing. Whole time he was stealing. So we had to, so I never forget, man, like it was like probably the day after the graduation. I'm like, wow, I'm out, I'm free, I can finally do something. I never forget, bro. I woke up knocking on the door. Lady came and was like, hey, y'all got to leave by October 9th. This was like 2014. So that whole summer, I was like, every day, I was like, I just got to make the best of where I'm at right here. Didn't know what I was going to do. You know, my parents was like, well, look, we're gonna have to just move to Virginia, right? I'm not knowing what I'm doing. I'm like, man, what's going on? So then we moved to Virginia. I'm like 19 at this point. Moved to Virginia. I'm working at McDonald's. That's like my first job, right? Now, luckily, I had people like, you know, I like my cousin. My cousin's like my brother for real. But I knew a lot of friends that he grew up with in high school, so it was cool. Within that time, like, it was kind of crazy. So I talked about my cousin, right? So I'm going to just go back to this is going to tie to something else. When I was 15, right, I used to go, even before that, I used to go back and forth to Virginia. My family would live out there. Like, all my family that lived in New York, everybody just moved to Virginia. I was like, well, I guess it's just us. So we would go and visit all the time. Now, during that time, one specific summer, 2010, right? We went to Virginia for the summer. I'm with my cousin in Walmart. And at that time, Mr. Rollback was, we would see Mr. Rollback all the time on the TV, on the commercial and all that. Shout out to Mr. Exclusive, because I think I've told him this story before. But I walked right past him and I said, oh, shoot, Mr. Rollback. He said, oh, my God. But I knew he was annoyed because I was like, man, everybody probably said something to him. And I'm going to get back to that in a second as to why that moment meant something, right? So now 19, going on to 20, going on to 21. I'm working at McDonald's. I'm working, doing all this stuff. I'm like, God, you sent me here. What am I doing? You said I got a promise. You said I'm supposed to be doing stuff. What am I doing here? What is the reason why I'm here, right? And it was one dude I used to know. He used to come through the drive-thru all the time. All the time. I talked to this man 2 years in a row. They didn't know what was going on. Just saying what's up to him. All right, cool. Then there was another dude when I was living in Virginia, another guy I knew. I seen him at GameStop, right? And I never knew his name at the time. We just chop it up sometimes at the midnight release. For some of y'all, if y'all know what a midnight release is, this is telling my age for real. Because this is 2015, so this ain't really too far past this. But every time it's midnight release, I see this one other dude too, right? So 2017, I feel like that's when I started kind of seeing some stuff happening, right? Didn't know what I was doing. But 2017, same dude I seen in the drive-thru. And at that point, I did like 3 like local commercials for McDonald's and stuff. So I did that. So that was kind of cool. I did that. That was like my first kind of, I'll never say no big break or nothing like that, but that was like the first time, you know, when I was like, yo, like I think I would do this all the time. Because hey, I did this for 3 days and I got paid $6,500. Oh, I can do this all the time. You know, just being me and being myself. But at that time, you know, I was young. I didn't cease to grab that opportunity, what it was. But a lot of times when that happens, I'll be like, well, it's a good thing I didn't, because I wasn't mentally right. You know what I'm saying? So 2017, after I did the commercials, right, I had started working at Walmart. Same Walmart I used to go to with my cousin. And I'll never forget, I was working, and this one girl that I was working with, she was showing me this video of a guy that worked there, right? And I'm watching, and I'm like, yo, he's wearing a Matt Hardy shirt. She was like, yeah, he's a wrestling fan. I said, yo, who is this? She's like, oh, that's Darrell. That's yeah. I said, Darrell? I said, okay, all right, let me go ahead. For y'all don't know, Darrell was Mr. Rollback that I seen that one time in 2010. I said, okay, let me go pop up on him. I walked up to him. I said, yo, I heard you a wrestling fan. He said, yeah, man, big on wrestling fan. He said, yeah, you know, me and my man Greg, you know, we go to his house and we watch the pay-per-views. Greg was the same guy I was talking to for 2 years in the drive-thru. Never knew who he was. Matter of fact, they went to WrestleMania 33. Dude didn't even tell me this. And I said, yo, that's crazy. So then it comes to the point to where, you know, even the dude at GameStop was a good friend of Darrell, which we call him One Night Bates. Fan as well. He's been a part of our group. I be trying to get him on the podcast, but we gonna talk, whatever. But he would, you know, come around every time. So I'm like, yo, that's Greg? I'm like, for real? I was like, this whole time this man been a wrestling fan? I said, I didn't even know this. So they brought me in, right? They brought me in, and that was like my first like wrestling group, you know, going. And I'm like, yo, this feels dope. Like being around wrestling fans, watching wrestling. This is something different, and we all black. I said, this ain't even, you don't commonly see this all the way and knows they stuff. I said, bro, every time I talk to somebody wrestling, I said, I'm talking to a couple of idiots, but these guys know they stuff. So, you know, after I did the WrestleMania, after I did the commercials, you know, I had the money saved. I didn't really use it for nothing. I just kind of held it, and he's like, yo, do you want to go to WrestleMania with us? I was like, you ain't got to tell me twice. Let's go. So they took me to my first WrestleMania. And I mean, WrestleMania 34.
What was that experience like for you?
So I'd say this, man. I loved it, right? I wouldn't say WrestleMania 34 I loved, but NXT TakeOver New Orleans, I had a blast. You know what I'm saying? I got to see my man Adam Cole become the first North American champion. Come on, man. And, you know, Ricochet had debuted that night. Velveteen Dream went crazy. Roderick Strong turned on Pete Dunne to join the Undisputed Era, which I called that before when we left the hotel. I said that to him. I said, look, I don't know what it is. I got a feeling Roderick Strong is joining the Undisputed Era tonight. And when it happened, man, did I feel like some kind of prophet. But I was like, man, it was at that point when I was starting to look at it like, I think I'm seeing some things in wrestling differently now, story-wise. And that was like my second event, because my mom took me to a SmackDown in Long Island one time. But but this one was like my very first wrestling, like my first, event as an adult. I was like 23. I mean, it was so cool. Met great people out there. Even one time on canals. I mean, I still got videos. People were like wrestling on Canal Street, just going crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I love that experience out there. It was just a blast, man. And it went from that to going to some live events. Then we went to the very first AEW Dynamite show in DC, the very first televised episode. And that is when I kind of said, all right, I think there's something about this. The first time we went to WrestleMania, I'll say this, right? It's four of us, me, Mr. Exclusive, right, my man Greg, and also my man Kenny. Shout out to my man Kenny as well. We were sitting there talking, and we were inside the ropes. We was outside because they was having an inside the ropes with Paul Heyman, and we were
Wait. Hold up. You were a part of that taping for the inside the ropes with Paul Heyman, the one that where he talked
the
about
dude was
him
talking
being
about Chris Benoit all the time, and he kept
So wait a
I
minute.
was in that crowd.
Wait a minute. God really did do this. Don't get mad with him, because what's crazy is while he's in the crowd, I'm watching that clip. Literally the same time frame that happened, a day or so after. I'm watching that clip. So you was in the crowd during that time.
I was in that crowd. But the crazy thing is, before that, right, when we was sitting outside, we was kind of talking amongst ourselves. I remember there was 2 girls from the UK. They're like, wow, you guys, we kind of like what you guys are talking about. So they was talking with us, and there was even more people that kind of started crowding around, joining the conversation. And that was kind of like a sprinkle of, all right, there's something about this. Something about
Okay, and that leads me to my question. So, because you see, Eric, you're a very wise man. I sense that about you, my good sir. Because I think you looked at my notes.
Nah, I
Because
swear, I don't know.
so the Exclusive Nights podcast. Now, and before we even get into that, we have a special announcement at the end of the video, guys. So stay around, stick around. There's a special announcement at the end of the video. There's something that is very great for. I'm not gonna say who it. I don't know. I'm not gonna say who it is and why it's so important that you stay back. But we do have a big announcement coming up at the end. What I will say is this: like the Exclusive Nights podcast it's a great podcast, and you guys talk a lot about WWE and AEW, and you guys have interviewed a lot of wrestlers and stuff. But I want to peek behind the curtain for a moment and ask you, what sparked this love for content creation? Because for me, I've told the story numerous times about me watching PWF Empire back in the day, and watching them and seeing 3 men of color, 1 white dude and 1 Puerto Rican dude, seeing them have these thousands of subscribers, and me being a 14, 15-year-old kid and seeing them and saying, well, if I can see them do it at a high level, why can't I?
Yeah.
And that sparked the fire in me to be able to eventually do what God's doing through me now. But what content creators shaped you, and then what caused you to say, I think I got a gift to do this content creation thing?
Well, so it's kind of crazy. I was about to get into that, right? I feel like before I got to that part, I feel like I had to see it for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was about to say, when we went to, so after we had that moment, at the inside of the ropes, when we went to the first taping of AEW Diamond, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was me, Heartbreak Prince, Mr. Exclusive, One Night Base, the Stat Man, Mother Night. We came out there, and I never forget, we was walking as a group. And the first time when I noticed it, there was this girl, I think her name was Britt Walters, I believe, in DC. And she does a lot of stuff out in DC out there for the Wizards and everything like that. And she walked up right to us with a camera and a mic. And I was like, so, okay, I think we might have some of this. And she asked us, you know, who we are, what we do, what we do. and she asked us, and I was like, yo, you know, we're just a group of people that just love wrestling, you know, and I felt like that, you know, sometimes, you know, you look, and it's one of those like, okay, something about this says we have something here, that there's something that people see that we're not seeing yet, right? And during COVID, I told him, I said, yo, I think we should do a podcast. I think we should, you know, do something. You know, we was like, yeah, we should. And then we got to a point we was going to start and we just didn't. And then I remember, and this, mind you, this was 2020, right? And that's when we first was thinking about doing it. Didn't get a chance. You know, at that point, I had left Virginia, you know, during the COVID. I had, you know, lost my crib. Left, went to Greenville, moved to Greenville, you know, try to find another way, right? Made a whole life, got established out there and all that. And during that time when I was in Greenville, I was watching, you know, It Is What It Is. Those are my guys, Cam and Mace. I was watching The Pivot. I was watching Chris Van Vliet. Those were kind of like the main ones I was watching, especially It Is What It Is. Like, something about what they were doing, I like, because it's just them, right? It's just them doing their own thing. And I was like, bro, that's what I know we could do for ourselves in wrestling, right? So I'll never forget this. Man. First day, I remember January 2024. I lost my job, right? I didn't know what I was going to do. The next day, my man Statman and Mr. Exclusive, it was like, yeah, you know what? We're going to start doing the podcast. We're going to start doing something with this. We're going to create a wrestling division, and we're going to make this into the Exclusive Nights podcast for real. That right there lit a fire in me. I started going, trying to make pictures, trying to make logos, trying to figure like, okay, what y'all think of this? And the logo that you see now, that's where that came from that day. And I, you know, and went from that to then we had planned on, so I had made the logo, then we planned on doing something for WrestleMania 40. That didn't work out, right? So I remember I was at this men's meeting at my church. And I met this one kid, his name's Zane. Shout out to Zane if you're watching this. At the time, he was like 20. Young dude, bro. And it wasn't by mistake how I met him. It wasn't by mistake how we came across. Because he was like, he's like, yo, what do you kind of do? I said, yeah, man, I'm trying to get a podcast. I'm trying to start working. He was like, yo, write it down. Make the plan, you know what I'm saying? Write the vision down. Write it all down. Make the plan, make the vision, you know, create meetings. He was, you know, kind of showing me. And, you know, that's one thing I tell people. It don't matter how old somebody is. You don't never know what kind of experience somebody carries. And I really said it to people. And when you sit, like, I could have been sitting there like, bro, what you know? You're like 20. Like, you ain't never did nothing. But nah, that dude had a lot of knowledge in that. And he showed me a lot of stuff. So that's what I always tell people. Experience don't got nothing to do with age. Experience is experience regardless. There could be a 4-year-old that just went through a whole bunch of stuff that a 55-year-old ain't never went through. You know what I'm saying? Never sit there and belittle anybody because of their age. You sit there and ask them, if they give you some wisdom, you'll never know how many things you can unlock by just hearing somebody. So I tell people, don't ever go with no closed mind. And that man Zane showed me. He showed me some. He gave me some tools to use. He's like, yo, set up some meetings. You know, tell them what you want to do with this. How do you see your vision for this? What do you see in the vision for your podcast? And that was in July 24, right? So, not June, July 24 of 2024. So I started doing the meetings. right? I started getting everybody together. I was writing down my ideas. I still got my book right now to this day. I got stuff I ain't even used yet. And I'm like, y'all don't even got no idea how much I got in this chamber. But I wrote it down. And seeing what it has become now, right? To see the vision that I wrote on this book, on this piece of paper, to see it in action when I can go on my TV and just watch what we've been doing. It's an incredible thing. And that was when we started, right? So we started doing it. And I started getting the meetings together, and we started doing that, and then we started doing some practice runs, right? And the practice runs was kind of trying to figure out, all right, how do we want to shape this? How do we want to run this show? What do we want to talk about? What are the topics? How are we going to do the reviews? First few times they used to be, all right, I'm going to just pick 2 storylines from this show, 2 from this one, 2 from that one. Then it was like, then the next practice run we did like a pay-per-view review. We did like 3, and this is all practice runs, by the way. So then by the second one, we was like, all right, I think we got something with this. I think we figured it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, mind you, I still didn't have a job. I'm still looking for a job. Actually, no, at that time, I was doing pest control, and that was on a contract. So at that point, yeah, like a lot of stuff started falling apart in the midst of me trying to bring this together, right? So in the midst of me starting the podcast, you know, it was like the 3rd day in, right? So like, not even the 3rd day me working, but when I was working doing my pest control stuff, you know, I had a feeling something was going on, right? I didn't really know. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just keep working. I'm going to just, you know, whatever it is. But it's on for contract, so it is what it is, right? So we did the first episode, right? Did the second episode. Did the third episode. Now at this point, when I was doing the pest control stuff, I couldn't keep up because the amount of money that I was making from my first job, I couldn't do it with the second one. And I was, you know, I had a situation. I was in a relationship I was in, and I was, you know, the only one that was paying because they were in school. So I was like, well, look, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to see what I can do. Right. So in the midst of starting the podcast, you know, lost my place. And I had to live in my car. So at that time, like, even if you look, it's kind of crazy. Like, even if you look at the 4th or 5th episode, you could tell I was moving in different spots. I was moving in different areas. Like, one of them, I was at a Panera restaurant. Like, one of them, I was sitting there. Like, I was at a Panera restaurant twice. And another one, I was in a hotel. Another one, I'm in another hotel. Then I'm in another restaurant. And it got to the point where my guys couldn't do it because, for one, I didn't have the equipment that I needed. So we had to take a hiatus and we had to stop, right? And it hurt me a lot to stop, but I said, okay, in the midst of me having to stop, what am I going to do in this car to see what I can do to get up out of this, right? Stay prayed up. I was doing DoorDash every day. The person I was with at the time, she was in school. So I'm like, look, you just got to do school. I'm going to figure out and do what I got to do here. And I'm going to still keep working and doing what I'm doing, right? In the midst of doing that, I'm watching all of my stuff, right? I'm studying. I'm sitting there, okay, I want to fix this. All right, I like how that sounded. I'm going to tweak that. All right, I'm studying my own content to say to myself, what can I do to be better the next time when I get back up on here, right? And in the midst of that, I'm still looking for a job, so I'm still doing all this stuff. I'm watching the same 5-6 episodes, just learning, just trying to figure out. Then I'm watching, you know, I'm just sitting there, just watching, analyzing. Like, all right, there's something about. I was like, there's nothing about this is perfect, but I know there's certain things that I said I can use it for this. I can use this for this. Like, okay, I like how this sounded. I'm gonna use that. I'm learning and kind of working within that, right? And, you know, and this was around December of 2024, you know, just when I thought some things was looking up, you know, I was like, all right, you know, apply for some jobs and see what's going on. Got into a car accident. Boom! T-bone.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I'm when I tell you, man, I broke down. I was, that was a time where I said, God, I don't know what I can do anymore. This was the only thing I had. I was living in. This is the only thing I was having to travel. What can I do now? Because this car is like messed up. Like, I could barely even, like, I can drive it, but it's not something that's safe, right? That same day, I got a call. Literally evening, got a call. Hey, Eric, I want you to, come and do an interview. We think you'd be a good fit. All right, cool. Got the job. Got a place. When I got back into a place, I hit up Mr. Exclusive. I said, yo, I want to get back into doing the show again. I got a space. I got the time. Let's do it. So January 2025, we got back into it. And ever since then, I ain't never stopped. And I kept going because there was times when I was like, bro, like, I gotta make some things happen. And I gotta keep pressing through this. And, in the midst of that, and it's not, and see the thing, what's kind of funny is like when I tell my story, I'll be like, yeah, I lost this job. And the thing is, it's not like I'm just not doing my job. What I've noticed, and I've seen this even now, my mother says I have this, it's called the righteous anger. Because I can't stand when people at job places try to, get over or try to, throw people under the bus. So I was the same way how I do these idiots now, I was doing this at the workplace. Like, you couldn't sit there and say I was doing this when you was doing that. You couldn't sit there and say I didn't do this when you knew I was helping five other people doing that when you asked me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that used to piss jobs off because again, I'm a black man from New York that lived in the South, and they didn't like the fact that I would talk and speak up for myself or other people. And I always did that because I don't like seeing people getting run over. I don't like seeing people getting bullied, none of that stuff. So that used to really bother me. And a lot of higher up people didn't like that. They didn't like the fact that I was a black. And a lot of these jobs that I worked at, I would be the only black manager there at some of these places. I would be the only black. So when I tell people, when they be like, oh, racism is a thing, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in those situations. I've been in those spaces when people are like literally trying to target you for what you got. People, there's times people will target you for the anointing or for the black or for whatever you got. If your energy ain't how there is, oh, that pisses some people off. And I've realized that in, growing and learning in life. When they say, oh, man, this place drains me, and they seeing you, and then you all happy, you cool with everybody, that pisses people off. When you sitting there, having a good time and everybody else is looking miserable, but somehow when you get in the room, when you step in, that changes things. That pisses some people off. Especially if you ain't the higher up person. Yeah, that used to bother people. And I understood that. Because at first I didn't understand it. I was like, well, what's the problem? Like, if I'm here, that should be a good thing. But nah, some people, they want to be that single bit of attention. And that was never me. Because even with my podcast, like, yes, I'm the, it's my, it's something that, I'm the host of it. But even when I'm doing it, I always want all my people to shine in their own way. Like, I've always made sure, like, Heartbreak Prince got his own segment that he shines in his way. Same thing for Mr. Exclusive. Even my girl Sean Diva, Statman with his. I try to make sure because I see that in them. At first, not everybody would see that, but I said, nah, I see something. There's something not seen. There's some way I can take it and bring it out of you for other people to see. That's what I'm going to do. And I love the fact that that's when I can look at my podcast and I can see that there's individual stars in all of them, right? And, oh, man, it's crazy. And, like, so me going to say that, I'm saying this, like, some jobs didn't like that about me. A lot of jobs didn't like that. And again, I'm in the South. I'm in South Carolina, like just trying to make a way and just trying to be the best I could be, but people ain't like that. So, I dealt that even when I was doing when I was still doing the podcast, when we brought it back right in 2025. So same thing. The job that hired me that time they called me, they done set something up to get me up out of there. All right, cool, whatever, right? I'm like, all right, God, But what else is next for me at this point? Because I mean, I'm doing everything that I can. The person I was with is still in school. I'm still going through things mentally, battling. I mean, but I had to keep pressing forward. I had to keep going, right? Then I seen Big Rod the Photographer's TikTok. Seen him pop up on there. And I DM'd him. I was like, hey, is there any way we can get you on here? I think it's important for somebody to see a black father really showing that love for his son and seeing how far he came. And he immediately hit us up. He hit me up the next morning and said, yeah, let's do it. That lit a fire in me to let me know, all right, Eric, you ain't doing this for nothing. A few weeks before that happened, I kept saying, I said, I don't know why I'm even doing this anymore. Because even in the midst of that, I had lost, after a little bit before I lost my job, I lost my car, the same car that got smashed up. So I ain't have no car no more. I'm still trying to find a way how to get there. This is during WrestleMania time too, by the way, last year. So I'm still trying to figure out how am I going to keep doing this, right? And I'm just pressing through. And, that first interview was something I said, all right, if he sees something to say yes, then let's go ahead. And I remember we went from having 60 subscribers to I think we had 250 by the end of that year, right? So that was the first thing. And then a little bit after that, then Chris from Heels for Life podcast, shout out to Chris, he found me.
Okay. That's what I was getting ready to get into.
Yeah, he found me. And he had hit me up randomly. He was like, hey, can you be a guest? And I said, okay. Because I had never even seen Chris on the thing, but on TikTok. But when I seen him, I was like, nah, he seemed pretty cool. I like this. And I'll tell you, man, that moment, that time of being a part of that community, right? Meeting all the other black content creators, opening up that world, just kind of seeing how many people I met. I met my man 13. I met my man Ovi Dub. I met BJ in the process. My man Saint. I met Ladybug. I mean, I have met so many people within that community, man. My man Swift, Nasty Leroy, Star, you know what I'm saying? It has been so crazy, man. And Ladybug as well. Also Ladybug, because she would have panels. She would open up to me as well. And and I met my man Bro Kage. If y'all know my man Pat, I met Cam Lewis from the No Pop Podcast. I met all these people in the midst of me going through this stuff. Now ain't nobody know I was going through this stuff. I'm still at this point, bro. I ain't have no job. I had no car, and so I'm walking to the store to get groceries while I'm in the panels talking to people. I'm sitting there still doing the podcast when I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, God, come on. I need something to move. I need something to shift. So I'm still pressing through, still doing it, right? Then I finally get another job. I'm like, all right, got something, right? I'm doing that. And then I'm starting to see things turn around. I'm starting to see more people showing up. And then I met the Main Event Mama. Shout out to them. Main Event Mama's podcast. They was on Unreal Season 2. I don't even know if they was on Season 3. I ain't watching yet. I don't know. But I met all these people, right? And, I was still going through some stuff in the midst of that, and sometimes when you seeing some stuff happen, sometimes you're going to be going through some other stuff. So I was, dealing with other personal problems in a relationship or whatever. But I had to keep pressing through that, right? And God was right there through it all. And the thing is, man, there's times when especially in these last 6 months, I mean, mentally, I was going through it. I was. But if it wasn't for, first of all, if it wasn't for God keeping me there, if it wasn't for the community, the people, you, BJ, people that I know that was keeping me grounded, that kept me around, like one of my good friends, John, Miles Capel, as he is on the, if I didn't have those people, man, I don't know where I'd be at right now. Because, and what they say, it takes a village. It really does, bro. It really does, because I was going through so much heartbreak. I was going through all these things. And I had to sit there and take that energy, and I had to take that and say to myself, how am I gonna use this energy that is fueling me, that is hurting me? How am I gonna take that and push that into something that I love? And I would have to put the face on, and I'd have to push through, and I would do it, right? And my co-host was there. They was something like they didn't know I was going through all these things that was going on me personally. And at this time I'm at a hotel, so I'm just trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it happen. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but if I just keep doing this every week, if I keep pushing for it every week, if I keep getting on these panels all the time, if I keep just talking to these people, something's gonna come up out of this, right? And man, you know, I had a lot going on. I had to make one of the hardest decisions of my life was leaving, leaving a place I've been at for so long and really stepping out on faith with God. Right? I met a wonderful woman in the process of that. And during that time, I didn't know what I was going to do, for real. But I kept doing that. I said, if anything, I'm going to keep doing this show. But I don't know where this is going to lead me. I don't know where this is going to take me. God, I'm trusting you because I feel like you done gave me 1,000 signs, and I've prayed and I've asked. Hey, shout out to my man, Jay Moving Mania, another one I met through the panels. And I have met him. We've talked. We like good. Hey, that's my guy right there, too. I can't believe I didn't even think about him for the second. But I said, God, I got to trust in you in this. I feel like you done told me to move. I'm going to move and step out on faith with you. So I went back to Virginia. I was there for a month, right? Within that time, it's like I started seeing some things kind of happen. Now, even during that time, it went from one thing to another. So I'm like, all right, guys, so what's going on this time? What we got going on? Now it's my family. Now I'm doing stuff with my family. And it's like, and it was crazy, man, because it's like I went to Greenville. I was there for that amount of time. Me going back to Virginia was like me 10 years ago, right? And what I thought it was crazy, I thought about J. Cole's album, The Fall Off, how that was him going to his city at 29 for the first disc, and then the second album was him going back at 39, right? And I thought about, in the midst of that, when I went to visit in New York the first time, around in June, right? When I was in VA during the time, right, there was a time I was depressed. I was sick of it. I really, like, when I first left New York, because I'm working with these people that don't know me, and they treat me and act me all this kind of ways, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, these people this ain't me. So I left, right, and I went to New York. I went back to my hometown at 21, right? Then I felt like this was crazy this year because I went back to New York at 31. So I said something about this means something, right? When I went to Virginia, I'm seeing, it's like I went back to, it was like God was taking me to places. I said, wait a minute, hold up. I ain't been here in some time, but there's a reason for all this. Like one of my good friends, James, like, during this summer, I said, man, there's something about this. It means a lot. I'm going back to the places I was at before 10 years ago. I'm going back to places I remember being at when I was in Virginia, right? And I'm like, something about these moments. Why am I going to these moments? Like, I was at my parents' house for a little bit. Okay. I'm seeing things there's some stuff that hasn't changed within the 10 years. So I know, all right, Eric, you got to move at this point. Had a situation going with my father. All right, now I gotta stay with my grandmother, right? When I was in Virginia, I had to stay at my grandmother's house. So I'm going back to these same spaces at an older age now, and I'm seeing things in a different lens, in a different mindset, a different mentality. And I'm like, nah, something about this guy. You're showing me things that I need to see, that I know down the line I can't let keep happening when I come back, right? So I had to make a decision. I had to leave because I got a dog. I love my dog. My family was like, they don't like dogs. I was like, all right, whatever. I was like, I'm not getting rid of my dog. I'm never gonna leave him because When I ain't have nobody else there with me, when I was going through stuff, I had my man Adonis. I had my dog Adonis right there with me. And for some people that might sound crazy, but hey, I'll tell you this: when a dog knows when you going through some stuff. They'll look at you, or sometimes they put their little paw on you to try to give you some comfort. And he was there for me, right? And I said, I'm not leaving. And I had to make a decision, right? It's either I stay in the same spot I've been at, right? And I stick with comfortability, or I say, God, I'm going to walk with you and I'm going to take this leap and I'm going to go to New York with you because I ain't got no other choice. It seemed like you forcing me to go. I'm going to go right when you tell me to go, right? I took that drive, went down there. In the midst of all that happening, a day before that happened, actually, that's when the whole Maddie thing came around when we was on the cookout with the podcast, with the idiot thing. And I feel like that has sparked up something in me. And that was something, because I was getting ready to leave to New York. So it just felt like something was like I say now, I'm in my second form, right? Because I'm like, nah, something is the fire is getting larger. The fire is increasing now, right? And now I'm in New York, and it's like when I tell you, man, it has been a complete 360. It's just, you know, I'm seeing opportunities happen. I'm seeing people showing the love on the social, you know, on the TikToks. People are loving the whole idiot licenses, the certified idiots. Like, it's those things, it's those moments I say to myself, God, if I did not make that leap, I don't know where I would have been right now. And at this point now, I can't be nothing but more than grateful, man, because I met Sean Diva in the process of this, where she's one of our co-hosts. Love the fact that she is our very first lady of the Exclusive Nights podcast. But I, like, in the midst of all of that, right? I'm seeing things happen. I'm seeing things change. And I'm like, God, I'm so glad. Now, of course, there's times when, you know, there's going to be moments where you feel some things. But you got to let it go. You got to look at what's moving forward in front of you. You have to see what's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like now, in this point in time in my life, I feel like not only do I love doing what I do, but I feel like people can see the passion and the love, and it makes me want to just get back even deeper into my bag of my wrestling knowledge. You know, getting into some more, even older wrestling. Like, yeah, I was like, man, I want to get even more, you know, into that, because I'm like, I don't want to come up into this not knowing. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm never gonna go into something acting like I know everything. Right. But if I can give you everything that I got by the passion, by the truth. And that's one thing, bro. I'm never going to go up on here, be on some troll. I'm not going to sit up in here, try to lie and try to just get things for clicks, likes, views. Nah, man. I do this out of the honesty, out of my heart. I sit there and I'm going to tell the truth. I'll be telling people, look, I ain't going to lie. Y'all might as well call me the truther. When I sit there and say we preaching the gospel of pro wrestling, there's a reason for this. Because I just want people to know that there's more. Right, there's more out there. There's more of a horizon of that, and people should see that, and know that, and not be so close-minded. And yeah, and sometimes now we have to take out some of these trolls, these people that are sitting there doing these things, saying this nonsense, and especially people that say this BS stuff about black wrestlers. And I will always advocate for every single black wrestler, because they do deserve the shine. They do deserve those moments. And I can't stand when people say, well, why are we bringing race into it? Because it's an important thing that we're dealing with right now. Absolutely. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen. So, yeah, if I can be one of those voices that can bring more attention to black wrestlers, that can give black wrestlers those moments, I'm going to do that. And not only just black wrestlers, but for all wrestlers, you know what I'm saying? But, of course, I'm going to have a little bit of favoritism for my melanated people, because I love my melanated people all to the fullest. And we got a lot to give and a lot to show. Not just the same stereotypes they be showing, but there's more to us than what y'all see in the media. So if I can be in some way at the forefront of that, the change, then that's what it's all about, man.
Well, Brother Eric, now that you've told your testimony, man, I'm glad that you've done that, my brother. I want to ask you a few more additional questions.
Yeah.
Got a few more additional questions for you, man. So you're a huge fan of the Young Bucks,
Hmm.
Ricochet, Klein Jordan, Trick Williams, and Swerve Strickland. What about each of those performers? And you can break them down in each different one. What about those performers resonates with you when it comes to Swerve, when it comes to Kalani, when it comes to the Bucks, and when it
Like
comes to
what?
Trick?
Right. So I think when it comes to the Bucks, right? I like when I seen the Bucks, I was like, bro, it's the precision, it's the synchronization with them in that tag team division. It's how you can tell. I say this all. It's never been a bad match from the Young Bucks. Like, but you can always tell when they've done it. Like it's just so clean, it's crisp. Like the way they move. Those Matt and Nick Jackson,
Mhm.
those are my guys, right? When it comes to Trick, Hollywood Trick, First Class Trick, Two Brand Trick, Trick and A, Trick Willie. Come on, man, Trick Williams. When it comes to him, I've watched. It's the aura, the star power that he could really carry that I see in him. Not even just on the damn mink coat, but I'm talking about how he talks on the mic, what he brings, the different catchphrases. Those things, I'm like, bro, these are things that's going not even just money makers, but these are things that's going to make you monumental. Saying, and I like how he brings that part of that culture in him. Stop talking while mind your business while grown folks is talking. All that. I love how we be doing that. Those things, right? When it comes to Ricochet, I think with him, somebody that has had the max potential to be there and hasn't really got that moment because they ain't know how to do it with him. And I like the fact that he goes to AEW now and you see he's like, you know what? I'm making something out of myself. You see the difference, right? For my girl, Lonnie, man, look, I say this with Lonnie. It's the improvement, right? It's the little stuff she's been doing. Um, Yes, they say when she first was trying to go here, that didn't work out. All right, cool. But when she got that TNA title, that Knockouts Women's title, it changed a lot. You're seeing how her mic work was a lot better. She was always improving in the ring. And she showed that when she was up in the ring, having those moments with Kendall Gray, with Lola Vice, even with Jordan. Like, she showed how much of a technical wrestler she can be in that, right? And I think it was a lot of those things that I was seeing from Lonnie. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for her, because I think it's a shame she ain't got the NXT champion right now, which she should. And we all know this, right? When it comes to Trick, I want to see more than just the stereotype that we see. Yes, we love the mink coat, but Trick has been more than just that mink coat. For real, he has. That wasn't even supposed to be something he was supposed to keep doing. That was just a one-time thing, just for the premiere. But they made that his thing, and I don't like that. A part of it, I don't like that. For real, I think they need to let him still dress how he wants to dress. And when it comes to the Bucks, man, I love the Bucks. I love what they're doing with tag team wrestling. I love how they try to elevate that tag team division, and it shows too. And Ricochet, man, he's just great all around. I don't think he gets enough credit, and I'm glad that now people are starting to see what he is truly.
So how do you think professional wrestling has evolved over the past decade? And this is another follow-up question that I had. What do you believe would make someone a phenomenal wrestler?
So I think the way how wrestling's evolved in the last 10 years, I think, look at the promotions, right? We've got 150 wrestling promotions now. It's not just one promotion or one, two, three, four. We got a whole bunch, right? I think the fact that we are seeing all, like, just not even just including with technology, right? We're seeing all these different promotions on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we now have access to watch all these other things like House of Glory, CMLL, Stardom, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ashe Wrestling, which is an all-black wrestling promotion. We get to see all of these, different promotions. GCW, MLW, which we covered on Fusion on Future Shock Wrestling Podcast. It's the access, right, that we get to see now. I think having that access, being able to see other promotions, I feel like that's what's evolved in wrestling, right? And even in the ring, I mean, I love to see the athleticism. I mean, some of you idiots like to say, "Oh, the flippy dippy stuff," but if some of these flippy dippy guys did it in WWE, you wouldn't have a problem with it. But because it's in another company, that's what y'all be trying to say. Okay, but it's the axis. It's being able to see, what has transpired in wrestling, and I think it's been great. And what was that follow up question, BJ? Because I feel like I was so locked in with this first one.
I was
What was
asking,
the second one?
what do you feel makes a truly great professional wrestler?
Oh man, first things first, got to be in that ring. You got to be able to move in that ring, right? And I think whether you're a technical wrestler, high flyer, a brawler, strong style type wrestler, a lot of it's kind of just making your mark as to what style of wrestling you like, right? That you are as that wrestler. And I think it's showing that craft, because the first thing, you got to be able to go in the ring. Yes, you can talk. Yes, they say talking is a thing. I get it, but being able to wrestle, that's what we all here for. We're here to see you throw down in that ring, right? That's the first thing. I think when it comes to the mic, right? I personally, it's 75-25 for me. 75% is that ring, 25 is the mic. Because that ring work is really what's going to make people go like, oh, no, he's good. But that 25%, that mic, man, come on. As long as you good on that mic, you good. For real. And sometimes there's people that's the opposite. I'm like, nah, you can't be that. You can't be 25 in the ring and 75 in the mic. There are people that's like that. Some of them last. Some of them change it up. But for me, it's you got to be able to go in that ring. And being able to talk how you are with the crowd, right? I hate when people say, oh, can you make them feel? A lot of times, that's what wrestling's going to be either way. They tell that story in the ring. You just got to take the lenses off and pay attention. Okay? Y'all, oh, they don't. That's obvious thing, right? And I think, too, one thing about a wrestler, sometimes it's the presence. Some of them, they're called aura, but sometimes there's a certain presence that can really change the way a crowd sees you. You know what I'm saying? Presentation. And that's a big thing. When it comes to entrances, that's cool. I love a nice little entrance. If you can get something that's a nice entrance, cool. But that shouldn't be the main focus of who you are as a wrestler. That main focus should always be that ring, number one. Everything else comes along with the package, but you got to be able to do the main thing, and that's really be great in that ring. And that, to me, is what makes a professional wrestler.
Okay, so just to do a little bit of fun here, if you could interview any wrestler from the past or the present, who would it be and why?
Oh man. If I can interview any wrestler, I'll be honest with you, man. If anybody I could, it actually would be Javon. It'd be Javon Evans right now, because I interviewed his dad. Like, I would love, because we always said we proud of him, right? But I would love to kind of just know his journey. And I think one other person I definitely would, and it's not even being biased, I would definitely want to interview my girl Lonnie. For real. Because I want to know, me personally, for Lonnie specifically, I want to know what sparked the change. Like, what was it that because I seen it, we've seen it happen on 10, but it's like, I want to know who sparked something in you to make that change, or what was it that you was working on that got you to that level. So yeah, definitely Javon and Lonnie would be my two from there. And I think if I'm thinking about AEW, I would want to definitely interview MJF, boy. I wouldn't care. He'd be one person I definitely would love to interview. And Swerve. Gotta interview Swerve. That's black excellence right there. Definitely.
So I got a few more questions for you, brother, and then we're going. So you're passionate about black movies and culture and all those different things. What are your favorite artists and films for those who may not know? And then also tell us some lessons you learned from either a film or a song that you apply to your everyday life.
Wow. Um, so it's crazy. I have a lot of favorite films I like, right? Um, I think, one of my, and this might sound crazy, but one of my favorite films I used to like, favorite movies was actually Friday. And when I watch Friday, it's something about
Mm-hmm.
that, just the realism of the everyday life. And it wasn't like always, violence and not all that. It's like, nah, there's people in the hood that's funny. And I 100% related to that because I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nah, that's what I'm living every day. Like, it's not always chaos, but it's always something going on in the hood, just something funny or just something that's, something that definitely can show like, hey, there's humor in all of these people that you think that we ain't got nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
I loved Friday for that. I mean, my mom. I mean, I've seen so many movies growing up. My mom, like, I was big on watching certain directors, right? Like Spike Lee, John Singleton. Um, I mean, even Tyler Perry, right? Like, growing up, I used to watch, and even still now, like, I watched like all of like Tyler Perry's plays, and there was so many messages in those. I would just be like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like I have instilled a lot of those. Just whether it's moving on, I think one of them that stuck with me the most was the leaf, branch, tree, and root thing that he talked about one time. My dad was talking about. You got people that are leaves, they be around for a little bit. All right, cool, they blow away. He said, but them branches, those are the ones you think they for you, and them things will shake right off. But you're gonna have a couple of roots that's gonna be with your 10 toes down, and that is the most important. So that was one thing I've always stuck with on how I want to be. I always want to be a root for somebody. Never want to be a branch and never want to be a leaf. But if I can be a root for you, that's enough for me, right? Music wise, man, look, I tell you, um, when it comes to like rap, Kendrick, Nas, Kanye. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kanye be wilding out, but there's truth in a lot of his music that he said that's helped me get through it, right? Nas, I think the mentality of being somebody living in the hood and you kind of seeing things differently, like there's things you can change, and just a lot of wisdom in that guy too. And of course with Kendrick, bro, I felt like Kendrick was talking to me in every single album, because every album I feel like with Kendrick was different. Like when he came up with Section 80, I was like 17, right? When he came up with Good Kid, Mad City, I think, well, no, yeah. Section 80, I was 16, right? Okay. Good Kid, Mad City, I was just about 17 going on 18. Um, and that really meant something to me because I'm like, yo, like, people say you a good kid. I mean, the city ain't going crazy, but we had, like, RP Bigger Meech, he got stabbed in Wyandotte, and it was just a lot of stuff was going on, and I felt like during that time, dealing with the death and all, that album was something that really kind of helped me get through that, right? Then when I'm living in Virginia, Kendrick dropped To Pimp a Butterfly, all of those things, the influence, like, and like those, I was like, bro, like this, I'm like, that's what I'm like, nah, bro, he's my favorite because the albums he dropped meant a lot for me at the time, and it helped me, get through some stuff too, right? Then it's like I'm listening to Damn, I'm going crazy, you know what I'm saying? And then Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was one of those where I said, man, it took me time to deal with that one because that one I was really going through some stuff. And then when I listen to that one now, I'm like, man, it's one of those a full circle. And then GNX Celebration. That was a celebration for me because I felt like that was great. But if I'm talking about gospel, ones that really got me through it, guys like my man Fred Hammond. I mean, Fred is one of
See
those
that
I
that's
say
right my
all the
alley
time,
right there.
man.
We was
You
talking about that
know,
backstage, y'all.
yeah, man. Fred is one of those one of those gospel artists that has legitimately got me through it. Listening Commission, which Fred was in, you know what I'm saying? Listening to, man, I think if you ask me who's my favorite guy, it's going to be Fred every time, bro, because the Pages of Life, chapters 1 and 2, especially the live version of that album, was one of those that really I would listen to all the time when I was in the car. When I crashed, so those albums was helping me getting through it, right? The Purpose of Life, that album is another one that I'm like, man, that one. When you say that first song, I Want My Destiny, yeah, I feel that every time when I play that song, right? Free to Worship, another one of my favorites. Like, oh man, just so much with and then I even got to see him, I got to watch him at the church I was going to at the time. I got to watch him perform. For free, by the way. This was Easter. So I said, man, this ain't nothing but a blessing for me. But that was such a full circle moment for me. Because I'm like, yo, one of my favorite gospel artists is at my church singing my songs singing the songs that I listened to when I was going through it in the car. And that was probably one of my favorite moments. And if I can meet him today, I'll tell him too, bro. Like, hey, look, you helped me get through a lot, man. But Fred Hammond was definitely my guy. Of course, we all listen to Kirk Franklin. Rance Allen was another one too. Donnie McClurkin. Hezekiah Walker, you know what I'm saying? Commission, but again, like a lot of that music has been something for me that has always kind of kept me grounded. If I felt weak, if I felt down, throw some music on, get myself going, and yeah, man, it's just been a huge inspiration for me, for sure.
Most definitely, brother. So right before we get off of here, when you talk about the goals for the Who's Next podcast,
Mm-hmm.
how have they evolved over the past few years? And would you go over your team again and talk to them about how this whole team came together in terms of Sean Diva, how you met her, and obviously,
Yeah.
and then speaking of that team, we got a big announcement. So stay tuned. We got just a few minutes. We'll be talking about something that's very monumental with this nice podcast. That's going to hopefully move them and the culture forward at the same time.
Yeah, man. Like, I think I told you guys, right? So I met Mr. Exclusive, found him. We was working in the same place. When I came across Sean Diva, when I found Sean Diva, she popped up on my TikTok, and I said, you know what? Something about this lady, I like it, right? And it was women's. It was I remember it was Women's Month. I believe it was. Do they call it? Is it Women's Month or Women's?
Yes, sir. It's
Anyway,
Women's History Month typically. I think.
Women's
I think it's
History. There
Women's
we go. I was like, I knew it's Women's something month. I was like, I knew it because I said it before, right? So I made it apparent. One thing what I've tried to do on the Exclusive Nights podcast, I've tried to make things feel special, things feel real, right? That was one thing I wanted to change, this year compared to last year. I was like, last year we ain't do nothing for Black History Month, so this year let's do something. So I hit up my man. Hey, shout out to my man Darian, man. He he was showing great stuff from his TikTok, and was just showing Black history, like Black wrestlers that was wrestling coming out of slavery, wrestlers that was in the the sundown towns. I seen that and I said, yo, I want to definitely do this. And I said, this needs to be something that we need to talk about and we need to push on. He said, well, let's do it. So we did a collab and we had him on there and educating people, whether you was white or black. I feel like it was important to show, if you're a wrestling fan, you need to know there's more than just your Rocks, your Ron Simmons, the Rocky John. There's more than just them that have started and was doing
Yeah.
this before them. And I said, that's important to show that Black history. And I feel like that was something that my mom instilled in me. I said, well, let's give some education to the people. And I feel like that was so important, right? Then how I met Sean Diva in the process of that, it was, Women's History Month. I found her. I had the Main Event Mamas on my podcast. And I asked Sean Diva again after that one episode. I said, yo, can you join again? She said, oh, I would love to. And more and more, Sean Diva was just comfortable. And I mean, and it's to the point she adapted so well with us. I'm like, yo, she is just a perfect like co-host to be on with us. I love the things she says all the time, and it's great because the dynamic of it's like, she used to watch wrestling, now she's gotten back into it 2 years in, but we give her stuff to watch. We like, yo, watch this, check this out, and she's absorbing it all and learning, and it's showing every week when we have her on there, and I'm like, yo, this is great, and she's all for it. She's like, man, this is good stuff. Y'all know your, and I'm like, hey, we ain't gonna steer you in the wrong direction. So she has been she's our very first woman co-host that we've had, an official member that we've had. And also another announcement, because BJ kept saying we got a big announcement. Also, BJ is now a part of the Exclusive Nights podcast, as well as a full-blown member. So yes, BJ, welcome to the team. We talked about this before, but he wanted to make this I said, well, we gonna announce this. This is gonna be a big thing.
Yes.
So yes, BJ is now part of the Exclusive Nights podcast and Legacy Sports Making Network. And hey, look, man, we're glad to have you up on here. And
Yes,
I think
sir.
because you've been on Nighttime, you've shown differences. Even when I seen the stuff you was doing on here, I said, nah, bro, something about BJ, man. He got a God-made thing in him. And I said, this is what we need. So, yeah, man. Official BJ Dixon, okay? Your friendly neighborhood podcaster, BJ Dixon, is a part of the Exclusive Nights podcast. Hey, man, we are glad that you are part of the team with us, bro.
Yes. I'm glad to be a part of this. Now, I'll tell you guys a quick story and then I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to show y'all the power of prayer, man. Like a year and a half ago, I started doing, exactly a year ago, started doing TikTok videos and didn't know where this was going to go. Immediately, I had started doing media within my church about like a year or so before. And I was just like, all right, guys, so what you want me to do in terms of with this media thing? And Holy Spirit put a word in my heart that you have unlimited potential. And I said, okay, what does that really mean? So that unlimited potential sparked me eventually working on doing this TikTok thing. And then once I started doing this, and I didn't know what was gonna come out of this, but eventually I said, this was the dream that the Lord gave me at 15 years old, that I was going to be doing some sort of content, some sort of thing with the wrestling world. And I just, from that point on, I was just like, you know what, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got on with you that December of last year. And I just was like, all right, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this because, like, you and I had some sort of a synchronism. Like, and then I started meeting people like Cam. I was just like, you know what? There's something here that's special. And I saw, okay, this is something that the Lord is doing. And all I can say is, man, this is a product of answered prayer, number one, and hard work, number two. You can't get anywhere in life without trusting in God. Proverbs chapter 3, verse number 5, which is one of my favorite scriptures. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and not to your understanding. And all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. That's something that my father drilled within me as a child, is that scripture, and just that your path is ordered by God. And that if you simply, as I always tell me in the spotlight, trust God and give all your talents to him, and he will take you to places that you have never dreamed of. That's where you'll find the unexpected gifts and the unexpected things that will happen in your life. And I'm honored that God has allowed me to get to where I am. It's crazy to think that just last year, I was just a guy on TikTok, and I didn't know that what God was orchestrating this entire time. But you know, I'm just, I'm honored, and I can't wait to see what the Lord has next, man. But it's not about me right now. It's about my brother Eric Knight. We're gonna go ahead and let him close it out in his own unique way. Give us some words of encouragement, my good brother. Tell us about where to follow you and where to find you. And then you guys will probably see me you know what? We're gonna be back at it very, very soon on the Exclusive Nights podcast. I believe it's on Saturday. And we're gonna be talking about AW Redemption, so be on the lookout for that. And Eric will be back as always for the MLW Fusion breakdowns. So y'all check us out every Tuesday and or Wednesday for the MLW Fusion breakdowns. We're gonna be here
Everyone.
every week, whether it's any spotlight or it's the MLW Fusion breakdown. We will be here. So Eric, I want you to go ahead and send this off, my good brother, and then I'm going to send this off.
All right, man. Hey, look. What I say is this, right? If anything, just keep believing yourself. There's times when it's a lot of stuff going on. You just got to keep pressing through. There is gonna be times when it gets hard. Pause. It's gonna be times when you're going through things. There's gonna be times when you trying to figure it all out. But if you just trust and believe in yourself and trust in God, man, you can get anywhere. I tell Aiden, I couldn't see myself being where I'm at now. Last year, I could not. I wouldn't even thought I'd be where I'm at now. But if I didn't trust and believe, I'm like, all right, you done took me far, God. Well, where else you gonna take me? And that's all you got to do. Just keep pressing and believing in yourself, and you can get far. And stay true to yourself. Don't let people try to influence you to, change to be something that you're not. Okay, there's nothing wrong with criticism, nothing wrong with improvement, but don't let people turn you into something that you're not. And that's a big thing. Stay true to yourself. Stay true in your heart. Keep going, and just be honest. Just be honest. Don't do these things for the clicks, for the views. Because it's gonna naturally happen and come to you. So you don't gotta take it to those lengths to do those things, because people gonna look at you as a troll, and that's not something. If that's what you want, you be that. I'm gonna tell you right now, some of them trolls, they don't last long. Okay, some things they come and go, but to be a real groundbreaker, to be a real wave mover, to be a mountain mover, that takes real honesty and truth, and that's what you want to press to be. So tell everybody, stay prayed up, stay right, stay true to yourself, and God gonna take you far. That's a fact.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have now walked into the indie spotlight, and now I'm going to ask you graciously to like, comment, and subscribe. Continue to plug into the Power Surge every single week.
That's
We
right.
thank you so much for coming with us and literally watching us yap about all these different things for an hour and 30 something minutes. But on behalf of this was Nice Podcast, and then on behalf of the Legacy Maker Sports Network, we're here at Fit Shot Wrestling. We appreciate you all for watching. Continue to plug into the Power Search, and we will see you next time. Peace. And let me